I beg of my colleagues that at this moment, when the future of the world is literally at stake, that at this moment we have the courage to stand up to the fossil fuel industry and to tell them and the politicians that they sponsor that the future of the planet is more important than their short-term profits. Summary that was released last month. This bill would make it easier for the fossil fuel industry to receive permits to complete some of the dirtiest and most polluting oil and gas projects in America. Specifically, this deal would approve the $6.6 billion Mountain Valley Pipeline, a 303-mile frack gas pipeline spanning from West Virginia to Virginia and potentially on to North Carolina. We're talking about a pipeline that would generate emissions equivalent to 37 coal plants or over 27 million cars each and every year.
Having this side deal. And he gave you some of the details in that big speech that he just gave yesterday about what this deal that was pitched to us as necessary for Joe Manchin to sign on to the climate change bill that would produce a fast track process for more fossil fuel infrastructure deals, and that would severely undercut the overall efforts of the climate change bill to deal with the threat that we're facing. And he's not just warning people that they need to take a second look at this. He's saying right now that if it continues as it's planned, it will be attached to a government funding bill, he's not going to vote yes for it. He says, you're talking about the future for the planet. And that's Bernie trying to appeal to his colleagues. But it's not just him in the Senate. Some of the nation's leading progressives have signed on to a letter urging House leadership, a letter, I should say, urging House leadership not to attach a bill fast-tracking those permits to must-pass legislation for funding the government past September 30th. And we got a list of the signatories. That's Candace Cole, reporter for TYT, was able to get that. The letter's author, Rahul Grijalva, told Yahoo Finance that more than 60 House members had signed on. That includes people like AOC, the rest of the squad, Pramila Jayapal, Jerry Nadler, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin. And in fact, I think we can bring up a list. It is possible that it has grown since this list was acquired, but it is something like 60 names. And so you have a large number of people encouraging House leadership to not tie this to the other bill. And by the way, both on the House and the Senate side, Democratic leadership has made clear over the last year that they're perfectly willing to say things will be tied together and then not do it in the end. So I feel like this would fit historic precedent, Cenk. What do you make of this?
Yeah, so look, there's a lot of really good news out of this. To be honest, which is what we always do, I thought the speech was going to be a little bit tougher. I watched the whole thing, and there was good headlines about it, and we showed you some of the best parts right there. But overall, it's a really good start, and there's something even more important than that. So it's a good start because he started talking about campaign contributions. I was hoping he was going to name names, but I know with Democrats in Washington, their colleagues, feelings would be caught, right? So he mentioned Manchin, but not in the context of campaign contributions, but he did talk about oil money. So, hey, at least for the first time, we're getting progressives in Congress to dare to talk about the third rail, which is campaign contributions that their corrupt Democratic colleagues live off of. That's why they don't talk about it, because that's why it's not Republican feelings. Sure, they care about that too, but it's mainly Democratic feelings they're trying to protect. But, okay, takes a first step in that direction. That's wonderful. More importantly, he's saying, look, if you put the side deal in the continuing resolution, which is a must-pass bill, it's basically a budget bill, I'm going to vote no. Oh, okay, now that's real. Put aside rhetoric. A no vote makes it harder for it to pass. That is actual power. That is using your power for leverage. I love it, Bernie. Keep that going. The second person who signed on to saying no is, of course, Ro Khanna. So always leading in these cases. You got to give him tremendous credit for that. So speaking of credit, I got to mention two other things that are really important to this story, and they actually involve us. And we're number one, Candace Cole, our new Washington correspondent, has been doing an amazing job, literally the best job in the country in following this story. She broke the original story that that there was a letter in the first place that Grijalva was organizing and getting progressives to sign. She broke the story that it wasn't a couple of people, it was 30 to 40 people that had signed onto it. And now she's going to have a new story coming out. It turns out the latest number is 71 people. Okay, so you can check that out at tyt.com/stories, all the different things she wrote. Now, the second part is this petition that you're looking at. So we started this petition saying, Speaker Pelosi, don't force progressives to vote against the budget bill. You see, the framing on that is important because it says if you put it in the budget bill, it is going to force progressives to vote no. Okay, so it's one extra step from the letter. The letter says, please don't do it. This petition says, if you do it, you're going to force us to vote no. Okay, so that's a tough ask for people to sign. For you guys, it's super easy ask. Go to tyt.com/petitions and sign it right now. The more people that sign it, the more power it has and the more leverage for progressives to kill the side deal. It's tyt.com/petitions/no side deal. But if you just go to tyt.com/petitions, you get there anyway. And remember, all the links are always down below in the description box if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook later. Okay, yeah. And then finally, there is one guy who already signed the petition in Congress. You'll never guess. Yep, same guy, Ro Khanna. Again, tremendous credit for leading here. So you've seen me disagree with him sometimes on interviews, but he always shows up. He always tells you why he does something. He's always leading and brave. And brave on this one too, saying, no, that's it. We're voting no if you put it in the budget bill. So nice. Here comes Ro Khanna, here comes Bernie Sanders, and now this is a real fight. And now they got a fight on their hands, and they might actually, now they got an actual fighter's chance at killing that side deal, which is huge, amazing.
You mentioned this, so I just want to go very briefly, minimal commentary to just a couple more sections of the speech. He did talk about the power of lobbyists in the fossil fuel industry. Let's jump to that.
Like every other senator, I understand what campaign contributions are about. I understand what the thousands of lobbyists all over the political system. Like every other senator, I understand what campaign contributions are about. I understand what the thousands of lobbyists all over Capitol Hill do, and I surely understand the extraordinary power of the fossil fuel industry to push the legislation that they want. In fact, they were successful for decades in lying to the American people about the reality of climate change. So I know about the power of the fossil fuel industry.
It's a point that he returns to later in the speech about how you have, effectively every scientist on the planet. You have these environmental groups. You have entire generations who understand that climate change is the main threat that we're faced with. And then on the other side, you have the fossil fuel industries and the donations that they give to every Republican and basically all of the Democrats as well. But I agree with you, Cenk. Imagine how much more powerful that would be if he then pulled out a Katie Porter-style whiteboard that had the amount that Schumer's gotten, the amount that Manchin's gotten, the amount that all of them have gotten, and made clear that this isn't just a thing that exists. There's lobbyists and stuff, but here's specifically how much they've given in the past year to try to get this deal. I think that would have made it much stronger.
Yeah. Look, as you know, I once ran for Congress just to do that whiteboard. I mean, that would have been 90% of, hey, look, these guys are corrupt. Here's the bribe that Manchin took. Here's the bribe that Sinema took. It would shake the world. And that's why I supported Nina Turner's run both times as much as I could possibly do, because I was sure that she would do the whiteboard. To this day, Jesus Christ, I've been covering politics for a quarter of a century, and not one progressive has had the courage to say, my Democratic colleague has taken this amount from this industry, and that is a campaign contribution, that is a bribe, and they vote with them because of the goddamn money. We all know it. Every single person in America knows it. The only people who deny it are people in Congress. Now, having said that, I've been waiting 25 years. They wouldn't even say the word campaign contribution. They wouldn't talk about corruption under penalty of law. Not even Bernie. None of them would do it. Ever, 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 right? So finally, we've broken through a little bit, and he is saying it. And he is saying it's because of the money. He is saying it's because of the campaign contributions. And believe it or not, for us, that might be step one. But in Washington, that's the rumblings of an earthquake. I guarantee you there's a lot of Democrats who are super pissed at Bernie tonight because they're like, oh, he mentioned campaign contributions. And because they're worried that he's going to out them. And in a sense, he has begun to out them.